can do whatever the hell they want. But I'm not going to trust him. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
said which team came out the best from all the four teams involved in the trade, Perry?
I have two answers. Okay, now the suspense is over. First one, within 1.5 years, if the Brooklyn Nets can win at least one championship, I think the Brooklyn Nets won. But I think with over the course of many years, I would say that the Houston Rockets won. Adding Oladipo was a downgrade in the scoring prowess of a Harden, but the way that team is looking, Oladipo really fits it seamlessly. Now they can play that fastball. They can run their systems, run their defensive systems. John Wall was a great defensive point guard, so he could get the better of his matchup or reduce his matchup to a certain extent. And Victor Oladipo was known as a two-way player, one of the better two-way players, who can also close games. We forget what he did for the Pacers in that Cavs series that he brought to 7 games.
Now, if I critique that point, my only critique for that point is he's an expiring contract. So
yeah,
can Houston entice him in half a season or three-fourths of the season?
I was about to get to that. Don't worry, I got you.
Sorry.
Don't worry, Mark. No, don't be sorry. Sorry's a board game, and we're playing the game right. So basically,
did you look up these lines before the podcast? To be honest,
I'm really happy you asked that. It's really off the top.
Okay, impressive.
I know. So now I think of it in this way. You go to Costco, you see a new type of ice cream. What do you do before you buy it? You sample. Victor Oladipo, you sample. If Victor Oladipo doesn't stay, at the end of the day, now I have cap room and I liberated $41 million. That's two pieces right there. I think the Rockets have a great nucleus, and if John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins get healthy, they're the team to watch for in the West when LeBron begins to age or show signs of aging.
Those guys are aging too, though.
Who?
John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins.
But they're a little younger, right? They were drafted in 2011.
But their
LeBron was drafted.
They were drafted in 2010.
Sorry, my fault. And LeBron was drafted in 2003. There's a 7-year discrepancy. A 7-year discrepancy. Yes, he came out of high school. So if we were to factor that in, he's 6 years ahead of them, ahead of what they would have been if they entered that same class or whatever the case may be. I think those 6 years gives Houston a small window, but not too many teams are up next once the Lakers crumble. I think the Lakers stay on top for a while, but that Houston team could have contended with James Harden if he bought in and played a little bit of defense. But right now, I think they're great. If I'm the GM, yes, I didn't want to let go of Harden, but this is probably the best outcome. I got a good all-star, borderline all-star shooting guard who can close games, finish when I need him to, and play defense. He also can play fast with my point guard. And if it doesn't work, he's out.
All right, so we'll move on to Mukhtar. Mukhtar, what do you think? Who do you think won the trade?
By far, the Nets, because they made New York relevant again. Bringing basketball back to New York like this, I've never seen New York really flourish basketball-wise in my lifetime. 22 years old, going on 23. It's time to see New York basketball be relevant again. And if you get the best player, you won the trade. And okay, they gave up 4 first-round picks, which is huge. But those 4 first-round picks, if KD and James Harden stay in Brooklyn for the next 5 years, they're nullified because you're going to be in contention the whole time. So, as it pertains, yeah. So, but Houston did do a really good job by getting 4 first-round picks and Victor Oladipo. In my opinion, I don't think you keep Oladipo. I think you flip him before the trade deadline if somebody who's desperate. Because he already knows that he's going to go to Miami. This league is very funny. Like, everybody knows where they're going to go. They just wait it out, hold teams hostages. But yeah, if they can flip Oladipo for another 2 or 3 first-round picks, they have like 7 first-round picks. They can build a whole lottery team if they want to. So yeah, it's a really good trade for them too.
What do you make of it, Jalen? Who do you think is the team coming out on top?
I think the Pacers came out on top. I think with Karis LeVert, and obviously he's out right now dealing with, I believe he had a lump on his kidney, if I'm not mistaken.
Got mass on the
But
kidney.
Possible tumor,
a
bro.
mass, yeah, possible tumor. It's something that's really serious. So he's going to be out indefinitely. But if they can get him back, and you add him to a lineup with Malcolm Brogdon, Damas Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Aaron Holiday, and all T.J. Warren, all them cats out there, Indiana's looking like a serious team offensively, but defensively. So they look like they can guard on both sides of the ball, 1 through 5, and that is scary. To your point about Houston, Perry, the only issue I have with it is that I just picked up a star who I know does not want to be there. Victor Oladipo has said and has been reported by multiple people in the reporting world, in the reporting business, that he said on multiple occasions to different Miami players, "Yo, come get me, offer something." So for me, if they lose Victor Oladipo this summer for nothing, that makes them the loser, right? Even though they free up the cap space, that makes them the loser because then you're going to have to bank on convincing somebody without any real stars per se, because John Wall for me is still coming back, right? Without any real stars to come and play for Houston. Houston, if they lose Victor Oladipo for nothing, if they don't sign anybody in free agency, are a mid, are like they're an 8 or 7 maybe to they're a 7 to 11 seed team in the West. So for me, Houston has too many ifs with this trade. They look like they're going to have to start a rebuild. They're going to wait for the contract of John Wall to expire. I think that's the best option for them. And they only signed Boogie on a 1 year deal, if I'm not mistaken. So you have some flexibility with that. And they have Christian Wood locked up. So for them, they're in rebuild mode with their future, looking at the future ahead. So for me, for Houston, if they don't flip Victor Oladipo and get maybe a Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo, something in return for Oladipo, who absolutely does not want to be there and is reported by Zach Lowe, Ramona, man, what's her
Shelburne.
last name? Ramona Shelburne. Multiple reporters have said that Victor Oladipo has his heart set on being in Miami. Houston doesn't come out on top. But for me, the Indiana Pacers absolutely came out on top in this trade. I thought they somewhat like they got Karis LeVert for literally nothing, and I think that
Yeah,
that's huge. Like he's a very underrated player. So yeah,
he's locked
Can I
up
ask
for
a
3 more
question?
years too on a
yeah.
cheap contract.
Can I ask a
One thing,
question?
yeah, one thing I will say, don't you? Oh wait, actually, Perry, you ask your question, then after I'll ask mine.
Okay, Oladipo walks off.
Mhm.
The Brooklyn Nets play, and in 5, 6 years, their team dwindles because they're
The Nets dwindle.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Let's say the
Okay.
Nets dwindle in 5, 6 years,
hmm
or Harden walks off once his contract's done because he won a championship with Kevin Durant.
hmm
Whatever the case may be, that Brooklyn team, if they start to dwindle, those draft picks become more and more valuable.
Okay.
So you can draft the next James Harden off of Brooklyn's misfortunes if they mishandle the situation, which they has a high probability of being mishandled.
My only issue with that, Perry, sorry to cut you off, is that
No, that's all
again,
good.
that's a big if. And like you're banking on maybe drafting the next James Harden. Like if we look at the only player that for me that has like superstar potential coming up is Imani Bates. And they're not gonna get that pick.
He's gonna be a number 1 pick, whatever class he's in.
Like he's the
Oh,
number
I
one
under
pick
no,
right now.
I get what you're saying, but this
Okay.
Houston team is locked up for the future as well, right? Because
Okay.
if
Okay.
John Wall doesn't work out, his contract's expiring. Now I have 82 mil of cap space freed up because John Wall's gone, Oladipo's gone, and sorry,
Boogie.
James Harden left,
hmm
right? So now I have that space that freed up. If Boogie doesn't work out, it's just a 1 year trial. But now if they do work out, you can lock John Wall in for the long haul. You can get DeMarcus Cousins in for the long haul. You have Christian Wood, who's a phenomenal center,
hmm
and in free agency, if a Kawhi is unhappy with the situation in Los Angeles, that
He'll never go to
sorry,
Houston.
that Rockets team, if John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins come back to form, with a Kawhi Leonard can win a championship. Plus, you're secure for the future. Now, this Brooklyn team is banking on winning now. Kevin Durant is 32 years old with a recovering Achilles. Yes, he looks phenomenal, and I pray that he has had a successful recovery, but he's only getting older.
Uh-huh.
James Harden's only getting older. Kyrie's only getting older.
Well, John Wall's 30 years old, and so is DeMarcus Cousins. So they both had Achilles injuries too.
Yes, but what I said is that if they don't work out, they can leave, and you have draft picks to fall off.
And I get what you're saying, but like I said, man, like it's you threw out a lot of ifs, and for me, the Brooklyn Nets have a sure thing. The Indiana Pacers have a sure thing. Even the Cleveland Cavaliers have locked up their center spot for the foreseeable future. It's a lot of if John Wall returns to form, if DeMarcus Cousins return to form.
But I even gave you the alternative if they don't. I gave you the alternative if they don't. They're secure for the future.
No, but what I'm saying is that the best case scenario that you gave has too many ifs for me to say they won the trade.
I gave two. I gave two alternative ones. If John Wall doesn't return to form, you have your future set with those draft picks. Mm-hmm. If John Wall returns to form, you have an attractive free agency spot.
No. Attractive free agency spot?
I don't see Houston being attractive at all, bro.
They are. Zero state tax. Zero state.
I'd go to Dallas. I have Luka Doncic.
I think Dallas is a more attractive spot to be as if.
But for a man,
like we're arguing apples and oranges here because
but for a man who wants his own team, like imagine a Kawhi. Kawhi is not going to Luka. He's going to his own team.
He's not going to go to Houston, though.
Yeah, he's not going to go to
Houston.
But between the two, I think he chooses Houston before he chooses Mavs.
He's not choosing either.
But like,
no,
and then
if you have to choose
this is where I think
the lesser of the two evils are Houston.
But this is where I think J-Lo's coming from with the what ifs. You know what I mean? Like it's like what if Kawhi goes to Houston? Like there's still too many what ifs. You know what I mean? Like I understand
what
you
I'm trying to argue is that I don't even care if he comes. I'm saying if John Wall doesn't work out, let's take the worst case scenario. John Wall doesn't work out. DeMarcus Cousins doesn't work out. Eric Gordon wants out. I'm in rebuild mode with a great center, and I have draft picks for essentially the next
good center.
Oh, sorry, good center.
I think he's a really good center.
Really good center.
Really good. Really good.
Plus he's young. So what I can do there is I have a center that I can build around, and then I just continuously add pieces via a draft. That is worst case scenario. Likely scenario, John Wall, maybe he doesn't return 100% to form, but he returns 80% to form, averages maybe 20 points, 8 assists.
But what I'm saying,
that still doesn't affect winning.
Bean, I'll let you take it. I'll let you take it after this. But what I'm saying is that your worst case scenario, the Brooklyn Nets pick, we know the Brooklyn Nets are going to be contending for a championship, right? They're going to finish conference semis. Hold on. So for conference semis onwards, right? So for this year and most likely the next year, I don't see them breaking up James Harden and Kevin Durant, but they'll probably break up Kyrie. But I don't see them breaking up Kevin Durant and James Harden. My point is that those first 2 years, you're in rebuild mode as the worst case scenario is the Houston Rockets. You're getting the 25th to 30th pick in the NBA draft. How can you honestly you're getting role players at this point? You're getting a Jordan Nwora. You know what I mean? So for me, that's why I say Houston. I think Houston came out not necessarily worse off, but yeah, worse off.
If they trade Oladipo, they came out better.
Yeah.
I don't think Sean Marks can walk out of the negotiation room and say I fleeced them. Is what I'm.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Saying.
Well, of course,
I don't think they got fleeced. I think Houston is in a better position than most of us think.
Yes,